All right, what's up guys? So today, just kind of a little catch-up video, I guess you could say. I'm getting a lot of questions on like the setup I'm running this year. This is going to be primarily my hunting rig, although I'm going to be doing a lot of 3D shoots with it. Everything on here that I've got besides the sight is what I'm going to be running. I've been waiting on that stupid landslide for like 8 months now. Left-handed, special pin configuration. I feel like I'm just never going to see it. So I'm out here today. I'm getting my sight tape set. We got a shoot on Friday coming up, so I just threw on my old Fast Eddie, like the original Fast Eddie, and I got to get my sight tape. So I'm shooting 20, I'm shooting 60. I'll show a little bit of that here in a minute, and I do have a couple tricks when you're getting your sight tape set. But we're gonna go over kind of the setup first. So this is the Matthews V3X33. Just real quick on the. You've seen my review on it. I love this bow. I shot the Traverse for a lot of years, just all the way up until this year pretty much. It's what I hunted with. I've still got my EVL, but this bow is basically everything I love about the Traverse and then some. So it's got a really long riser. It aims like my TRX did, my 36. Just so stable, draws like butter. I'm pulling 78 pounds on this right now. And it's just an awesome setup. Let me try to get this out of the wind. It's freaking cold out here. This is definitely not like the ideal day to be doing this, but I work tomorrow and I work Saturday, and I don't really have any other time to get my sight tape. So it's a little bit windy, it's a little bit chilly, but I'm trying to just kind of wait for calm spots to get my sight tape. But back to the bow. So I've got the Hamsky Epsilon on there, Shrewd stabilizers. These are the Onyx. They're basically the same thing as like the Rev X's, which are the really expensive bars, but it's not as high of a modulus carbon. With short bars, the really expensive stiff carbon doesn't matter because it's short, so it's stiff no matter what. Really like these bars. They're super clean. I've got, what do I have here? These weights are actually different. The silver and the black. The silvers are an ounce and the blacks are a half ounce. So I've got 5 on the front. Sorry, 4.5 on the front, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5.5 on the back. So pretty evenly balanced. I was kind of surprised, but honestly, this thing just holds so good. I'm not really gonna mess with it a whole lot. Still deciding if I'm gonna run the back bar or not for hunting. I haven't really shot it without it, so I don't know how the bow sits and holds and everything. I generally don't like hunting with a back bar just because I'm always carrying my bow around. This is an 8-inch back bar and a 14-inch front bar. These are the same bars I ran at TAC last year. But honestly, it's shooting so good that I may not mess with it. I may just leave it and just suffer carrying it around. So yeah, Epsilon, Shrewd stabilizers. I got the Hamsky Raptor Peep. I have been shooting the nose button on this. If you've watched my videos before, you know that I don't think the nose button hurts anything, especially when you're shooting up and downhill, or on shots that are taking a little bit longer to break. Sometimes you can feel, if you're coming out of that peep, it'll tell you really quick. And then this is just the original Fast Eddie, so it's just true single pin, and that's why I'm out here today. I got my calibration tape on here, so I got it at 20. I just kind of guessed as to where it's going to be at 60 based on my speed and doing this in the past. So I'm going to set the camera up here, and it's going to be hard to see the target, but I've got it zoomed in all the way on the target. You can see me in the foreground. We'll see what kind of groups it shoots there. I got of course, the Ultra View grip on there. Matthews, you've probably heard me talk about this before, but if there's one thing they need to do better, it's their grips. When all your pro shooters, like all their target pros, the first thing they do is rip that engage grip off and either shoot off the riser or put the side plates on or wrap it in something. Everybody's doing something different to the grip than that engage grip. So for me, I really like this. I like the little bit higher wrist. It's a very defined grip here. People that shoot this and have issues with it don't hold the bow right. So because it has these really defined edges here, if you get too much palm into it, if you're in here like this, it's gonna put pressure on the edge of that grip and torque your bow. But if you get your hand in there how it's supposed to be, it is just a perfectly flat surface. And I think it's an extremely comfortable grip. I really like it. Strings, went a little different route on these. These are the first string exit wire magnums. So it's kind of the same thing as like the Ghost. It's an undyed material. They're kind of this like, almost like a, I don't know, like a mintish green. These things are awesome though. They, just like the Gas Ghost, I mean, I haven't seen any movement in these. Another thing with first string is they actually twist up to the left instead of the right. If you've watched my arrow or my video on which way a string will cast like a bear shaft naturally, any string that twists up to the right will cast an arrow to the left, meaning that natural rotation is going to be left. This string twists up to the left and it naturally casts a right rotation. All my arrows are fleshed with the right helical, so this is a pretty good deal for me. So far I've been really impressed with this bow. Like the more I shoot it, the more I like it. I did run the Hamsky to the yoke here instead of the limb. It just keeps everything really tight for when I have my quiver on there. And basically, you know, your yoke and your limb tip, this all moves as one unit. So it's basically the same thing as attaching it to like the little Hamsky bracket on your limb, but I have less cord, it holds in tighter, and I don't seem to have any rebound or any issues with that. Kind of an update on the Hamskys, by the way. Couple things we've noticed. Right out of the package, that launcher, when it's all the way down, is not actually flat. It sits up slightly. You can change that, and it's important that you do, because every once in a while we'll get, you know, a bow where it's like we just keep getting this tail high tear, and it's because it's actually, that rest rebounds just ever so slightly, and if it stops at this level and then rebounds up from there, you'll actually get a little bit of contact on your veins. So to change that, like on the very bottom here, there's these two little silver screws. The one closest to the grip, you want to back that out. So literally just take your finger and push that rest down, and then take that out like a turn, and you'll see the launcher arm drop. So it allows the launcher arm to drop further, and that's pretty important. Additionally, I've had some people saying they're getting, you know, like contact on their cage with their vanes. If you run, so I did the standard mount instead of the Matthews mount on this, because if I ever change bows, I want to be able to put it on there. When you mount the rest to the bracket, there's these 3 different little holes. You need to make sure that, so on the Matthews, it needs to be pushed all the way to the, well, to the left for a right-handed bow and to the right with a left-handed bow. If not, that means you have to run, like if I mounted this on the furthest left hole, my rest would be inside of center, and when I move the rest to the right, the bottom cage here does not move with the rest like it does on the Hybrid and the Trinity. The launcher will actually move independently inside that, and if you get too far over to one side, now you're going to get vane contact on that side. So you want to make sure that you can get it as centered as possible. You know, it's going to come with this right in the middle of the cage, and you want to make sure you can get it as centered as possible just by using the different little mounting holes in there, as opposed to just running your rest like, you know, a 1/4 inch over once it's mounted. But other than that, you know, still, I've not seen a single one of these come back with any issues in terms of like mechanical issues. You know, most of the ones that we see that are having contact issues, somebody set them up by themselves at home and they just didn't know those little tips and tricks. So yeah, I got sighted in at 20. Like I said, I'm not going to show shooting at 20 because who wants to watch that? So I'm going to set the camera up behind me here. We're going to shoot some at 60, and then I'll walk down there and kind of go over it. Like I said, today's not optimal for it. We got, you know, if I'm going to be shooting this way and there's kind of a headwind coming from my left to right. So what I'll probably do is actually pick the tape or the mark that, you know, I'm expecting to hit a little bit right with it, but with that headwind, I'm going to guess I'm going to hit a little bit low of, you know, when I'm actually sighted in at 60 on a calm day, I'd probably hit right on, but with this headwind, I'm probably going to pick a tape where I'm about 2 inches low, maybe an inch, 2 inches low. So anyway, I'm going to quit yakking, get this camera set up, shoot some arrows, and then we'll run down and see what they look like. It actually looked pretty freaking money height-wise. They are a little touch to the right, but like I said, I mean, it's mostly just a headwind right now. It's like coming at like this angle. So I'm not super worried about that, but generally when I'm doing this, and I forgot it, but rather than aiming at a spot, I like to put a line of like duct tape on the target and just aim at that tape. So I don't care about my left, right. I'm just looking at the level of it. Oh yeah, that's pretty good. So you can see there, pretty much exactly what I thought. I mean, that one kind of got away from me. The wind was blowing a little bit. I mean, those, I'm happy with those. Like I said, with that headwind, I think I'm gonna probably, like, that's a little bit low, but because I'm going into a headwind, I bet, you know, on a calm day, those would probably be just about perfect level. Sorry, that sun is freaking ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, I'm stoked with that. I was trying to kind of wait. I actually had a pretty good little calm section there where it wasn't like, the wind wasn't just ripping. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. This one, that one was not a good shot. That one I just, yeah. But I'm pretty happy with my equipment. Like these arrows, so these are the 250 spine X impacts. So I shoot, everybody knows, well, not everybody, but if you don't know, I shoot a 30-inch draw length. You know, most people would say, oh, you cut your arrows 29.5. I don't care about where my arrow ends up in terms of whether it's hanging over or is behind my riser. The cut length is going to all have to do with the spine. With these arrows, you know, I started with them long. I started with them at like 31.5, and they were too weak because I got 180 grains up front, 76 pounds, or 78 pounds. So I started cutting down. I ended up at like 30.25, I think, or 30.5. Yeah, 30.5. And then the insert adds another, you know, like 3/4 or an inch or whatever. So I mean, they, you know, they stick off the end of my riser a good like 1.5 inches, probably 2 inches. But I don't care. That doesn't hurt anything. Like, people get so hung up on like, oh, my arrow has to be right at the front of my riser. It's like, well, if you cut it to the front of your riser and you're too stiff, that doesn't do you any good. Like, so I mean, you know, I don't care if I'm a little short or, you know, a little behind or a little in front of my riser. The correct spine arrow will bail you out on poor shots. Getting that forgiveness in your spine, you know, helps. Like this, with an arrow that was way too stiff or way too weak, that arrow probably would have been a way worse miss. So, you know, like when I shoot these, I can literally shoot a fletch shaft with a bear shaft. I can shoot my bear shaft at 40 yards and it hits like, I don't know, maybe an inch to the right pretty consistently. But I mean, I'm not gonna mess with anything for an inch to the right with a bear shaft. I mean, the fact that it can even hit paper at that distance is pretty impressive to me. So yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm not gonna show like a kabillion different yardages here. I mean, I did shoot one actually before the one you saw, and they were probably, I don't know, they were like down about 2 inches below the orange dot. But it's cold, it's windy. I actually got to get going to a lesson here in a little bit. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to show you guys the process, go over my my setup. Got a 3D shoot this Sunday that I'm looking forward to. And yeah, hopefully the tape I'm on that Spot Hog, that's the number 18 tape. So I'm gonna go back and cut number 18 out, stick that on there, and yeah, test it. Oh, okay, so let me back up on a couple tips for when you're doing this. One, always use the rangefinder to get your ranges that you're going to be using. From where they have this marked out at 60, my rangefinder told me 58. So you don't want to go to a range and just trust that they have all their stuff laid out perfectly. I mean, some dude could have literally just pasted off and said, oh, that's 58 or 60 yards. So use the rangefinder that you're going to be using. When I was at TAC, it was shocking. Like in the group, you know, we'd all be standing there at the same stake, ranging the same target, and there would be like a 2 2.5 yard discrepancy between the different brands of rangefinders. So always, when you're sighting in, use the same rangefinder you're going to be using, you know, whether you're hunting or 3D shooting or whatever. Because if you sight in with your buddy's rangefinder and then you go out and use yours and it's 2 yards difference, you know, at 60 yards, that's going to make a big difference. You know, that's at least 2-3 inches at 60 yards, depending on your arrow speed, could be more. The other thing, like I was mentioning on the walk down here, is, and I didn't bring any because I was in a rush getting out of the house, but generally speaking, I like to take, so you can see like that black tape on there. If you get a longer horizontal strip of that and put it on the target, do that at 20 and at 60, or whatever distances you're going to be calibrating your sight tape at, and try to get your arrows just in the center of that tape, because the more precise I can get that gap on my calibration tape, the better the sight tape it tells me to use is going to be. The more accurate it's going to be and precise. So that's something that like I said, I usually do that. I just was in a rush to get out of the house today and I did not. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked with that. Of course, now the wind is dying down and the sun's coming out, but I got to get rolling here because I got some stuff to do. So anyway, thanks for watching today. Remember to head on over to InsideOutPrecision.com. Hard to see, but you know, we got merchandise, lots of cool stuff on there. And yeah, remember, as usual, precision is a decision. Keep them in the middle, and I will see you on the range.